YT Productions. Yeah.
I love my HBCU and ball. I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU and man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see my team won a loss. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, you know what he be talking about. Talking about them Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, yeah, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boys, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that SWAC, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay, and tune into the HBCU Sports Lab with Dr.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Man, welcome to episode 169. Man, it's the week before it goes down. It's about to be real. Welcome to episode 169 of Inside the HBCU Sports Radio Show and Podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports from institutions large and small, from NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We are filming from our home studio, as well as sending a signal live to KCOA 1230 AM studios with Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, let me say, Mike, how you doing today?
Oh, not bad for a Tuesday. It could be worse. Well, you know, the work week moves on, but man, I am so ready to start this thing we know as college football. The HBCU season kicks off this weekend. I can't wait. So I'm excited. So I'm ready. I'm ready to put all my work stuff aside and let's get it. Let's get it.
Charles, what about you? The man Mike said he ready to go to work. He said it's for real. It's go time.
It's work time. It's go time. It's time to put on your hard hat because the season is upon us. We got SWAC MEAC Challenge this weekend. Next weekend, Orange Blossom Classic, a bevy of games. This is the time of year you really get excited to get a little football in your system. So it's going to be fun. This is going to be a very consequential year within HBCU football.
Great point that you're making there, and that brings me right into it. But I'm going to take it from one football terminology. I'm going to actually take it to the football in terms of the pitch, as they say in the vernacular, for those that don't really understand the pitch. I'm sure our sports fans, as they know, they understand that we're talking about American, as we call it, soccer. How about Howard Soccer draws record crowd again versus Hampton? Women's sports. I was so excited to see this. I had to lead off on it. I know a lot of folks out there like, y'all supposed to be getting hyped for football. Yes, we're getting hyped for football, but football as in soccer. You know, Mike, as he spent his time traveling around the world, including Germany, you know, he got a real lesson, if you would, in terms of the fever and the pitch of football around the world as they talk about magnitude. But this here is what really was intriguing to me was obviously the crowd was excited, but they had 3,200 spectators. Obviously the largest home gathering in the program's history. It was held Monday. Contest was the first home match at Green Stadium for the program since September 15, 2019. The crowd was phenomenal, as you would imagine, was said by women's soccer head coach Brent Livia after Monday's victory, where they won, as we said, 3-1 over the rival, the battle of the real HU, as many people would say, in terms of the pigskin. But they're still having it. Howard was on the attack throughout the staying in Hampton's territory more than 75% of the match. They didn't score until after halftime when a freshman, Malaya, out of California, delivered the first goal of the night and put the Bison ahead at the 47-minute mark, 1-0. They went on, as I said earlier, to win the game 3-1. Fascinating. I'm gonna go to you, Charles. What are your thoughts? Is this an indication of what may take place this fall? What gives? 3,200?
I mean, that's a fascinating number, and the question that I ask is this pent up fervor in terms of getting ready for fall sports that you're hoping to see? I mean, you get 3,200 there for a women's soccer match on the campus of Howard, and the question that I have to that's kind of rolling around in my head is the sporting public, is the sporting fan, even amidst the virus, are they ready to be back in stadium? So I think it's a fascinating, thought-provoking look at, whether fans are ready to get back in front of their sporting events and enjoying them.
Wow. Yeah, I like the way that you bring that in. Is this an indication of what we may expect the rest of the fall? Obviously dealing with COVID-19 and the various variants. But if this is any indication, basically all I can say is, wow. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I think it's good news. The one thing I will add to CB's statement is, you're scratching your head. Is this part of this ongoing wave of people just wanting to get out and catch sports? The other thing is this part of this wave of folks, this social conscious to support HBCU institutions and activities? Is it a combination of both? The other thing, spending time in Europe and learning soccer and looking at other similar sports, I hope fans have an appreciation for when you spend 75% of the time on the attack. Imagine a basketball game where the team with the ball spends more time at the other team's end of the goal shooting baskets, whether they hit, miss, whatever. They had more shots on basket, in this case in soccer, more shots on goal than Hampton. So that's pretty big in soccer. It's pretty big in sports like hockey or lacrosse or even basketball, where you have a team spending more time on the attack in the other. That means your defense is going to get tired. So that's a testament to Howard's team as well. So give them kudos, aside from the large audience. Give them kudos for the match they played as well.
Yeah, I was so excited. I wanted to jump on that. Before I jump and stay with women's sports, I did want to say today's show will be a good one as we discuss the latest HBCU news. As you just heard, record spectators for a soccer game. We'll have Mr. John Grant, Executive Director of the MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Celebration Bowl, obviously talking about the MEAC SWAC Challenge this week, which brings me back to Hampton. None other than Moni Davis, who plays for Hampton softball team. She got a chance as a Little League World Series legend in her own right. She pursues a broadcasting career, and she got a chance to get in front of the mic and give some update this past Sunday when you had the game between the Little League World Series, and obviously they played the Major League game in that area as well. It was fascinating. She did a wonderful job. Great information to see that. But what I wanted to get your thoughts on was Southern University Athletics has named the football field after Pete Richardson. This is courtesy of GoJagSports.com. And the first article that I reviewed in terms of Hampton and Howard was courtesy of HBCU Game Day. So I wanted to give some love in terms of what's going on there. So that was fascinating in so many different ways of what's taking place. With that being said, I did want to get your thoughts. I'll stick with you, Charles. I know how you have your feelings with Southern, but I imagine in a lot of ways this hit home in terms of your reverence for excellence that Coach Pete Richardson did at Southern University during that time. Gave you many frustrations, but certainly had to acknowledge what he was able to do. What are your thoughts?
Very deserving, tremendously deserving. Surprised it kind of took this long for it to happen. But when you take a look at Coach Pete Richardson's imprint on Southern football, and let's be honest, before he got there was a malaise in Southern football, and Pete Richardson really started in the 90s, in the early 90s, really was able to raise their profile again. I know for me, of course, yeah, very frustrating, but those Jackson State Southern battles in the 90s going into the 2000s were really epic. And, he was a very worthy opponent. Always had Southern's teams very prepared, very disciplined. You knew that you were going to get 4 quarters of a football team that was going to fight, throughout, and they were just very good. Very, I can't be anything more than complimentary of Southern football during that time period because, they, in so many ways, they became the standard of what you had to go through to get to the SWAC championship.
And to that point, to have great rivalries, which I think is inarguable to talk about the rivalry between Southern University and Jackson State. It goes through multiple sports, but the face of that in a lot of ways is football. But the only way you get those rivalries if you have legendary coaches facing off each other, creating legendary matchups, legendary players. So to your point is the fact that one of the reasons that you muster all that excitement for Southern is the fact that they were equal to that counterpunch, if you would, using a boxing analogy. With that, let me let Mike chime in here and see if he has any thoughts in terms of naming the field. We've seen this done here at Texas Southern University, which Coach Moreland Court. So fascinating in a lot of ways to see legends get their due in a different way. One time it was about naming the facilities. Well, you get away with that a little bit in terms of seeking maybe potential naming rights for facility, but now you see it transitioning to the playing surface. So I thought that was cool, but I want to get Mike's thoughts on it.
So yeah, I think on a historic level, it links to historic coaches, in Mumford and Pete Richardson, and you have to realize I grew up in that era. There was we were transitioning from kind of the Eddie Robinson era. It was kind of like overlap into the Pete Richardson era, and there was overlap, and there was a battle. And I always ask a lot of our guests, when did you first fall in love with HBCU sports? Kind of symbolic of that brown sugar question. But my first experience was Southern football, as I had a Southern alumni who was recruiting me, and I saw Pete Richardson's teams who ran the spread offense. So they won national titles there. So I think it links him and Mumford. I think it's I think it carries more than just the naming of the field. It's symbolic from my and if you're a fan of the game, you gotta appreciate the board's decision to name it, in Pete Richardson. I mean, he did so much for the university, but I mean, he did so much for the game in and of itself. So I'm sorry, CB, you look like you're about to jump in.
Well, no, I mean, when you take a look at when Pete Richardson comes into Southern, it is post W.C. Gordon, who was, kind of the next in that pantheon of great coaches in the SWAC. And Eddie Robinson and W.C. Gordon were adversaries. When you take a look at the Pete Richardson era, you're talking about Pete Richardson going against Big Daddy Carson at Jackson State. Just some epic battles there in the 90s. And then the first SWAC championship, Southern and Jackson State, 1999. So, those are the things that you keep in mind, that those Southern teams were extremely formidable. So, kudos to Pete Richardson, because I think for quite some time in my head, the template for whatever the Jackson State coach or staff should be. Kind of mirrored what I thought some things I saw Southern doing. Pete Richardson coming from Winston-Salem State. So in my head, I was always looking for, potentially the next person up coming from the D2 ranks that had, won there and that could be a cultural fit for Jackson State. But, you take your hat off, Pete Richardson, one of the better coaches that we've seen.
And you talk about continuing a legacy. I mean, you look at it, A.W. Mumford won, 5 black national championships, 11 SWAC championships during his 26-plus year reign. And then Richardson jumps on in the midst of the Eddie Robinson era, as you alluded to, CB. And, he coached Southern to 5 SWAC titles and 4 black national championships. So, you're talking about continuing a legacy. That's what I mean, tying the two together. I don't think you can separate the two, but tying the two together, I think it's symbolic.
Great points by both. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We can take a quick break and we'll be right back heading into the second quarter. Stick with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime! Get ready for Cracker Barrel National Battle of the Bands! Presented by Pepsi Zero Sugar. Sunday, August 29th, 4 o'clock, NRG Stadium in Houston. Featuring the hottest HBCU marching bands. Southern University, Langston University, Tennessee State, Norfolk State, North Carolina A&T State, Texas Southern, Bethune-Cookman, and Jackson State. Don't miss the battle on the field and the stands with scholarships. Over $500,000 in counting for our HBCUs. It's an HBCU experience you don't want to miss. With a weekend of activities with the Cracker Barrel Step Stroll, Pepsi Zero Sugar Immersion Experience, Esports Masterclass and Gaming Tournament, and the free Pepsi Zero Sugar College and Health Fair. Tickets start at just $15. Get them right now at nationalbattleofthebands.com. It's the Cracker Barrel National Battle of the Bands. Sunday, August 29th, NRG Stadium, Houston. Gates open up at 2:30. Also sponsored by Cricket and HEB. nationalbattleofthebands.com. Get your tickets right now.
Let's get back to strolling instead of scrolling. Before we can safely come together, we need the facts on COVID-19 vaccines. Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision for yourself and for your fam.
Football bands, and one of the best fan experiences in the country. The Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff returns to Atlanta on August 28th along with special guests, College Game Day. Then Alcorn State takes on North Carolina Central with conference bragging rights on the line. Center Park Stadium is the place to be on August 28th. Come tailgate all day before enjoying a primetime matchup on the gridiron. You don't want to miss this. Check out MEACSWACChallenge.com for more information.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports
Tell everybody
Network.
they can follow their dreams.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We're talking a little bit about various HBCU sports. Great comments in the first quarter. Let's get back into it. Big game this week is SWAC MEAC Challenge matchup. But courtesy of the SWAC.org and MEAC SWAC Challenge itself was the fact that there was a little bit of a tease of matchups to come. Going all the way up to 24, and for SWAC actually going all the way up to 25. So just reported was John Grant talking about the executive director of this cricket celebration bowl. Cricket SWAC MEAC Challenge kickoff, if you would. 2022, before we get in a little bit of this 2021, your 2022 in Atlanta, you will see Alabama State and Howard. Fascinating matchup. Howard's will be getting down there. I think this will be their first game in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. 2023 will bring back none other than Jackson State. They will face off with the nice regional MEAC rival at some degree, South Carolina State. And then in 2024, FAMU and Norfolk State. You get a previous matchup would have been consistent of MEAC, but FAMU now a member of SWAC will debut as a SWAC member in the MEAC SWAC Challenge against Norfolk State in 2024. 2025, they do not have the MEAC team, but they say Southern is committed to the 2025 game. Be interesting, kind of unfortunate that no 2024, because that'd have been fascinating in many different ways. You got that matchup, but I guess they'll just have to find a way to get it done. If you're a Southern fan, that is certainly for those Norfolk Spartans out there, they want to see it happen in celebration mode. Maybe as early as this year. But I know Prairie View, Jackson State, Alabama A&M, FAMU, even Bethune-Cookman would like to not see that place, I should say. But what are your thoughts in terms of MEAC SWAC Challenge, starting with you, Mike, with some of these matchups going all the way to 2025 in many different ways? What are your thoughts? Any of these games in particular or overall?
No, I like the matchups are really intriguing. So the first one is starting in 2022, Alabama State to face Howard. That's going to be an interesting matchup, not just on the gridiron, but just if you look at, it'll be interesting to see how the fan mix works. How Howard's fan base responds, because has Howard been in a SWAC MEAC challenge? To my knowledge, I don't think so. So how would they face kind of a traditional SWAC powerhouse? So I thought it was initially kind of good to introduce the Northeast part of the MEAC to the SWAC. So I think that's the matchup that really intrigues me the most. Howard claims to have a homecoming. They claim to have kind of a tailgate. I want to see what that looked like. Can they get out of Atlanta? I just want to say, I haven't seen much about Howard. I've been to Howard homecoming. I've been to Howard tailgate. I'm sorry, Howard fans. Let me repeat. It's nothing to brag on. All right? It is a one-day Aspire or BET video. That is it. So good. But good for you. But I think that event, you need to bring a little bit more to the fire. So that's the one event. All the others look pretty good. I think it's interesting that, 3 or 4 years out, Southern's committed. We don't have a MEAC commit. Kind of scratching your head on that one. So those are my initial thoughts on it.
Yeah, you sure did go initial. Man, all them Howard fans out there, they got beat up when they dealing with the HU. They did get a soccer win, but Mike was like, not so fast with the homecoming. He said it's just a big time video.
Hey, all that SWAC arrogance just came out in that one statement. Just
So, Charles, beside the 2023 matchup between Jackson State and South Carolina State, what other matchup is fascinating you? And then once you do that, come back and give us what do you think the crowd will be like for the Jackson State and South Carolina State in 2023? 2-part.
I think Mike touched on it because we haven't seen Howard in the SWAC MEAC Challenge, and I think that'll be fascinating to get an early glimpse of what Howard looks like. I think that for me with this MEAC SWAC Challenge is the fun part, is to get those teams from opposing conferences that you don't normally see those matchups. That's the number one thing that jumps out at me. But to actually get an opportunity to see Howard early in the season, to see, I say September is, kind of you get your early teaspoon of what a team looks like. So I'm looking forward to getting that early teaspoon with regards to Howard. Jackson State and South Carolina State, there was a little bit of a historical tie-in. Jackson State's former head coach, James Carson, it came from South Carolina State. W.C. Gordon brought him on staff. So you have some of that there. There's a little bit of a history there. I'm looking forward to that matchup. South Carolina State and Jackson State have had some pretty decent matchups over the years. But when you talk about crowds, I don't need to say anything. You saw what Jackson State did in 2019. They bring a crowd. Atlanta is a home field advantage, I think, for Jackson State.
Absolutely.
We hit the road pretty well. So I'm looking forward to that in Atlanta. Looking forward to it in Miami next week.
Charles, we might have to tag along with you on that trip. We're gonna get in there. It's fascinating. I love the way Jackson State gets down.
Yeah.
You know, love the way Southern gets down. I can't wait to mingle with some FAMU folks in terms of how they do their thing. And that's why when you talk about Miami, ooh, my goodness, that will be legendary in many different ways. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back after this break and see if we can get John Grant in, Executive Director of Cello, talking about the MEAC SWAC Challenge. This is Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports. Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Stick with us. We'll take a quick break and bring you back in with the interview.
Yes, that sound means it's time once again for the 36th annual Labor Day Classic. Featuring the Prairie View A&M Panthers versus your Texas Southern Tigers for the Battle of the Lone Star State on Saturday, September 4th. Kickoff 7 p.m. at BBVA Stadium. Don't forget the halftime battle of the bands as the TSU Ocean of Soul take on the PVA-MU Marching Storm. Tickets are available online at www.tsusports.com/LDC-tickets. Let's bring the Knicks Durley Traveling Trophy back to its rightful home.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside HBCU Sports Live with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We have our guest. He is in the building, in the studio, however you want to say it. We have Mr. John Grant, Executive Director of the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge, as they like to say in East Part, the SWAC MEAC Challenge, as well as the Cricket Celebration Bowl. These white folks getting a little excited over here, man. They got little big heads, so you know they just changed the name up. Mr. Grant, how's it going?
I'm fantastic, man. You know, I always feel fortunate when I'm on this show. You know, with all of this, you know, these heavyweights. You know, it can be a little bit intimidating because you know that here, you know, you got to bring game when you're on this show. So I'm happy to be here though because we got game to give.
No doubt about it. Let's jump in there and talk about it. Before we get into this particular matchup and the things around it, because there's so many different types of events, big time announcements has been coming out, trickling out. I love the way you do it. The last trickle out was a tease to more SWAC MEAC Challenge all the way up to 2024 in terms of both MEAC SWAC and then obviously in terms of SWAC you have up to 2025, which will include Southern. But some of these matchups, Alabama State, Howard, 2022, Jackson State, South Carolina State, 2023, FAMU, Norfolk State, 2024, as FAMU debuts as a SWAC team in the MEAC SWAC Challenge. That's the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge with that. Before we go any further, tell us a little bit about how do you go about looking at the matchups when you put them together? What? Hey.
Okay, come on, baby.
I appreciate you just being how they say, I appreciate you shooting it straight to it.
It's like rolling dice. No, actually, we there's a process that we utilize. It involves obviously consultation with the conference commissioners. We look for matchups that where we can be somewhat regional, gives fans an opportunity to drive in. It's an easy reach. Where, for instance, with Alabama State, Howard, it's been a long time since Alabama State has played in Atlanta. Matching them up against Howard equally as much so. We think that's a great matchup. These teams haven't played each other if they ever have. It's a great opportunity to put them together. And then when you in 2023 when you're looking at, Jackson State and South Carolina State, two great programs. We looked with that one, we can say, look, Coach Prime comes home, not home to Miami, but his professional home, which is Atlanta, because he played both with the Atlanta Braves and with the Atlanta Falcons. And so we know that that'll be an exciting matchup against, a great program that South Carolina State has. And then, of course, the Florida A&M Norfolk State matchup is one that we believe with the new coach there, Dawson Odom's coming out of the SWAC. They've got a great program at Norfolk State, and certainly Florida A&M, and with Coach Simmons, they've got a fantastic program there. We feel like that's just a match made in heaven to get those two, which would be former MEAC foes, back together. But now they're playing on opposite sides of, of the fence, so to speak, with Florida A&M and the SWAC. So we think those are games that people want to see. And certainly games that would generate the excitement within each of the conferences.
Charles, go ahead and follow up with a question.
I know there's things, Mr. Grant, that you sort of give fans a special something each year with either the MEAC SWAC Challenge or the Celebration Bowl. But what can fans look forward to this Saturday with regards to ESPN events, MEAC SWAC Challenge gift that you give to HBCU football?
Well, and that's a great question, Charles. Let me tell you that this weekend will be from a total live audience perspective, and it's going to be the biggest weekend in the history of HBCU football. When you look at the fact that we're going to be starting off Friday morning, and I'll talk about it from a content and exposure perspective that television provides. We've got Good Morning America here. That's a new announcement. You guys haven't heard that one, but that's a new. Good Morning America will be here
right here
early to kick it off Friday morning. They're going to be doing some cutting in from here in Atlanta. They're going to have somebody on the ground here. We roll out of that, which is, Good Morning America. We know that is one of the top morning shows on ABC, but it's the top morning show, period. We roll out of that into First Take, which is a 2-hour show that's going to be opening the show right here from Center Park Stadium, with another 2 hours of television coverage. And then we've got College Football Live that we'll be broadcasting from here. Desmond Howard hosting that on Friday afternoon for an hour. Then you open Saturday morning with College Game Day, which is the largest, college football show today. And that's another, from 9 to 12, another 3 hours of television coverage. And you haven't even gotten to the game broadcast yet, which is in prime time at 7 p.m. on ESPN. That brings you another 3.5 hours worth of television coverage. So this weekend, without question, will be the largest weekend of exposure in the history of HBCU football, with this year's Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kicking off all of college football in week 0. Did that answer your question, Charles?
Yeah, I think so.
Was that enough to give fans? And then that doesn't even include. I haven't even included what's going to happen on the ground yet. But I think that right there speaks volumes, for this weekend.
Yes, sir, it does. That's huge.
As they say, huge.
In Texas, we say big. In Texas, we say big old.
Big, right.
Go ahead, Mike. Ask the question.
Yeah, Mr. Grant, just to kind of tee off that, I mean, with all of these tremendous events, surely you've had the opportunity to put your touches, your accentuations on, whether it's Good Morning America or the part that, other ESPN shows are going to cover. Was there a focus to bring out different parts of the HBCU experience in all of those different shows? Can you share what other parts of the HBCU culture and experience will kind of come out in Good Morning America or some of the other shows? And did you have a say show? I mean, this is really exciting.
Well, I look at what we do, my team and I. We're in the content creation business, and this game and football happens to just be content that's consumed by people, whether they're there live consuming it in person, or whether they're consuming it on their mobile device, or whether they're consuming it, through linear television. It's nothing more than content, and that content is based around storytelling. So our goal is to make sure that we're telling the stories, whether it's the stories of student athletes, the stories of alumni that are making a difference, that have attended and graduated HBCUs, the stories of students that are attending HBCUs today, the relevance of HBCUs and the impact that they're having, in this country and around the world. So we're all about making sure that we're telling the critical stories as we create this content, and this platform with all the shows that I've mentioned gives us an opportunity to educate the nation and the world on the value of historically Black colleges and universities and the contributions they're making to the fabric, not only of our country, but the world. And so that's really the orientation. We want to make sure that young people that are out there who are considering, higher education, that, the first thing that comes to their mind for us is an HBCU as a part of their consideration, because of what they can learn and what these universities provide.
Tremendous. Thank you, Mr. Grant.
John,
Mike, we just happen to do it around football.
I know. It just so happens. I mean, you are illuminating completely the HBCU experience. This is phenomenal.
And you have them going over here in the chat as they moving back and forth. They're trying to figure out who gets credit for Good Morning America. Is it Texas Southern University?
Is it Michael Strahan?
Is it Michael Strahan, or is it FAMU, the executive director that happens to be a member of Delta Sigma Theta? I was like, well, you do have an executive director, John Grant, that kind of has a little bit of muscle that's pulling some strings.
The beautiful thing is when we can say that our institutions get credit. The great, we've got the head of ABC News is a Florida A&M Rattler.
Yep.
We do have Texas Southern that's a part of the talent that's there, and there are other people that are a part of the fabric of that particular show. And then certainly, of course, Aggies do. So I won't say who's an Aggie in the mix, but Aggies do. So the credit doesn't. The beautiful thing about all of this, that the credit doesn't lie in one place, and that's the beauty of our institutions. Whether you went to Prairie View A&M that I'm seeing in your background there, or Jackson State, which I know Charles is going to talk about, or whether you're part of Texas Southern, or you're part of North Carolina A&T, it's all one fabric woven together, and stitched together to make something that's really special. And that's what I love about what I do, and I love about the commitment that ESPN has, and the Walt Disney Company. The commitment the Walt Disney Company has in bringing those stories forward.
Important points that you're making there. I want to go back to some more of the activities. You talked about the creative content side of it in terms of vision of getting this to so many people, but you also have the events on the ground. Share a little bit about some of the events on the ground that people can expect when they make it to Atlanta.
And a big part of what we do is how we impact community. and being embedded in the community. You know, we start tomorrow in partnership with the city of East Point with the big initiative celebration they call Wind Down Wednesdays. It's a huge concert in the park in East Point, so we're part of that. Then on Thursday, we have our high school symposium where we'll be at Westlake High School, Cam Newton's high school where he graduated from. And that's, you know, we have some sessions there where we're bringing, again, content, educational content, financial literacy, managing social media, career opportunities, and leadership development to the high school seniors there. And then we've already committed over 500 seniors where we're going to be juniors and seniors, but the seniors at that school are all, we have corporate partners that are sending all 500 of them to the game on Saturday. So they're going to get a bonus from that. On Friday, you know, we'll have these shows we mentioned, and then we have, we're partnering with the Atlanta Braves for their annual HBCU night. HBCU night at Truist Park with the Atlanta Braves, huge event there. And they make that's a significant program that they do around celebrating, acknowledging HBCUs, and we're proud to be a part of that with them. And of course, you've heard us talk about Saturday morning, the biggest college show on earth with College Game Day, Wakes Up Atlanta and Wakes Up America, as we are welcoming the full season of college football back from here in Atlanta with College Game Day, and that's free. And we're also, with that, we're giving, providing the first 1,000 fans that show up will get tickets to our game. And we're doing that again to connect with community, for people to understand how important that is. Now, during College Game Day, we announced this week that we have Grammy nominated a group, Migos, will be performing live during the show, and then after the show at 12, they're going to be performing as well, and they'll be at the game at 7 p.m. And then we have, let me take a deep breath. I'm not quite finished yet, but I'm getting close.
There's more.
The Coca-Cola Fan Experience, we've closed down Georgia Avenue in front of Center Park Stadium, and we're turning it into a major street festival. That's our fan experience that will run from 1 until 6. And then at 7 p.m., we're kicking off with this great game with Alcorn State versus North Carolina Central University, two teams that have not played before in their history. And I know both of them are chomping at the bit to get back on the field because they haven't played since 2019. And I've had conversations with both coaches and with players on both teams. And let me tell you, they cannot wait to get on the field, on the gridiron, and entertain us with some of the, I think, best football we're going to see opening up the season.
Well,
and then of course Atlanta adds everything else to that.
I can't
when
wait
you come to the A, you know, you don't have to do a whole lot here because the A brings its own flavor. And and we're excited about that.
Mr. Grant, you had me at Wind Down Wednesdays. I mean, that's where you had me.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys here. You and I want to thank you all because you have been tremendous in terms of what you do to keep the lights on. When no one else was shining a light or the lights were somewhat dim, you guys and programs like yours kept the voices alive. You kept the lights on for what we can see, and so we're just delighted now to amplify the work that you've been doing, for quite a long time. And my hats go off to you because we cannot do this without you. It can't happen without you and programs like yours and your peers that are telling the stories day in and day out. And again, thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for providing those great words and really acknowledging us. But I'm gonna go back to Mike when he says Wind Down Wednesday. The sad thing about it, he was telling the truth when he said you had him at the Wind Down Wednesday. I know brother Washington Professor watching his son say he does know how to relax. And so that wind down was perfect for him. You got it. So he'll be there right on time. And you'll see his face.
I'm trying to get out on the golf course with Mr. Grant.
Well, you know what? I'm planning to try to come down your way for. I talked to your AD, Ashley, who's going to be here, by the way. I told him I'm glad that you're coming to Atlanta so you can see some real football.
Shots fired.
No, Ashley and I are great friends, and I'm happy that he's coming here to just to be a part of this because they were here in 2019, and just happy to be for that. But yeah, we're planning to be down your way for the Jackson State. It's like a September 25th or something. One of your first home game.
Yes.
And who are you playing? Remind me.
Delta State.
Delta State. That's right. Mm-hmm. And he has a golf tournament around that he informed me of. So my intention is to come down and be a part of that.
That sounds like a plan.
That's perfect. And to your point, in credit to Ashley Robinson, he was a part of Prairie View when it came in 2018. So he's been involved in mixing it up with several of the MEAC SWAC challenges and making things happen. And I was there for that, and he made sure that I had a great time. I came back, and I felt I was with Charles. I felt I was part of the Jackson State family because I'm telling you, they welcomed me like I was like, all right, this is good. I can get used to this. So I'm gonna come back with John, make sure John takes care of me, and all is good. With that being said, the last thing I wanted to make sure they got out is give them information in terms of getting the tickets.
Awesome, thank you. Visit MEACSWACchallenge.com. MEACSWACchallenge.com on our website, and for tickets and information, as well as information as on College Game Day and the other activities that we have going on. So MEACSWACchallenge.com.
No doubt about it. It's good to have you, Mr. John Grant. Thank you for giving all that great information in terms of the MEAC SWAC Challenge, and we look forward. As it starts in Atlanta and ends in Atlanta, and literally it starts everything in Atlanta week 0, and then it ends in Atlanta, kicking everything off for the rest of the bowl season. Boy, you talking about a great package to bookend it, and we get to do it with Mr. John Grant, Executive Director of the Cricket MEAC SWAC, SWAC MEAC Challenge, as well as Cricket Celebration Bowl. Depending on what
I love the way SWAC fans do that. Well, they switch that name around real quick. The Cricket SWAC MEAC Challenge.
We'll be with you. No doubt about it. It's good to have you. This is Dr. Cavil inside the Hbcu Sports Lab with Mike Walsh and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed our interview with Mr. John Grant, Executive Director of the Cricket SWAC MEAC SWAC Challenge. Cricket Celebration Bowl. Well, you know it. That's it. We'll be right back. Stick with us. We'll be back for our last segment, quarter number 4.
The inaugural Boeing Red Tails Classic is personal to me. It's more than a matchup between Tuskegee University and Fort Valley State University. My beloved father, Colonel Lawrence E. Roberts, was a proud member of the Tuskegee Airmen. 922 brave pilots, also known as the Red Tails, fought in World War II. The Boeing Red Tails Classic is more than a celebration of HBCUs. It's a reminder of the Tuskegee Airmen's valor and sacrifice, the first class of black fighter pilots who trained at Tuskegee Institute in Alabama during the height of Jim Crow, fighting for America, while in many ways America fought right back against them. This inaugural Boeing Red Tails Classic, this football game, is for them. And it's quite special that this game, which will be played at the Crampton Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama, opens the 2021 college football season on Sunday, September 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. When you watch this game, please remember its larger meaning, that it's for a group who advocated for themselves while still facing prejudice and discrimination in the segregated Army. The Tuskegee Airmen story hardly gets told enough. I, proud daughter of a Tuskegee Airman, join others who champion their legacy and how they influence generations of black cultural and political leaders.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
The HBCU football experience is back in Atlanta on August 28th. College game day, the Coca-Cola Fan Experience, the Battle of the Bands, the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge will have it all. Visit MEACSWACChallenge.com for more information.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Mr. John Grant, Executive Director of MEAC SWAC MEAC Challenge, and the Celebration Bowl. With that being said, wanted to talk about HBCUProSportsMedia.com. You heard me tease that out when we came together as HBCU Black Media, if you would, and covering those that have a focus on covering HBCU sports and all things, like I like to say, the sporting HBCU diaspora, where we're debuting our poll rankings. This is the preseason poll rankings this week, starting with the mid-major division. You can go to HBCU Pro Sports Media if you want to listen to it. You can check out the Knights of the Round Table. You can go to BCSN to check that out, where they break it down on a segment there. But we'll give you the top 5, and you can get the rest of the top 5, if you would, by going to either of those links to get the information if you haven't already. Starting at number 5 in the mid-major, you have Albany State out of the SIAC. They have their next game 9-2, which is away, and they are at Mississippi College. 67 points, really tight in some of the voting here. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this thing matches up as we continue to go. So number 4 out of the CIAA. Their next game is 9-4, home versus Lenore-Ryan. 68 points. Bringing us to number 3. Going back to the SIAC. Their next game is against Valdosta State, and that is on September the 4th. At number 2, you have Miles College out of the SIAC as well. So you see the SIAC so far is loaded. They have 3 of the top 5 programs thus far. They also play on September 4th, and that is on the road at Alabama State. They have 97 points. Number 1 was unanimous. 13 votes, 130 points. Out of the CIAA is none other than Bowie State. The Bulldogs will play the MEAC team out of the MEAC, Delaware State, on September 4th. Gentlemen, what's your thoughts on the mid-major poll for the HBCU Pro Sports Media as they debut the poll rankings as you see here? Starting with you, Mike, what are your thoughts?
Oh, it's all good with a few exceptions. You can move Savannah State up. You can go ahead and comfortably do that. Albany State, you could also move them up. They've been a lot more competitive in the past, I'd say 3 years, and a lot of people give them credit for. They have actually in their head-to-heads with Miles, I believe they are 3 out of 5. The last 5 times they faced Miles, they lost last in 2019. They beat Miles in the regular season, lost in the championship or the playoff. But the previous games before that, they've had a chance to get the better of Miles. So Albany State had, Albany. My wife's from Georgia, so you better say it right. So you better, they have a good culture in their football program. So I would move them up as well. Other than that, Bowie State, they've proven to me they've been kind of the head honcho for the last couple of years. They deserve to start the season at number 1. Can they reload once again? And I believe they can.
Fascinating when you talk about what that looks like. I would say before I go to you, Mike, is Charles, is the fact Langston is not in their top 5, unlike the poll ranking that I have, and many of you talked about this. Looks like everybody else has a vision of Tuskegee that I don't have in the poll ranking. So we'll see what that looks like. Besides that, they have Tuskegee in the top 10, Langston in the top 10. But you can go get the entire poll as you see here, just to give you some more indication. Go check it out on hbcusportsmedia.com or bcsn.net as well. Charles, what do you say? What about the top 5 programs? Any concern of what you see in terms of the voting tabulation?
No, I have a great representation by the SIAC. Oh, you take a look at Albany State, Savannah State, Miles, all there in the top 5. So it looks like you're going to have quite a bit of parity in the SIAC. And you know how I feel with the CIAA is Bowie State until proven otherwise. They have locked things down for quite some time up there in the CIAA.
Well, J-Mac agrees with me. J-Mac agrees with me. It's Albany. I'm sorry.
No, you perfectly fine. You know you got to get that in there. J-Mac speaks. We gonna listen. Top 5 programs in the major division. Let's see what you say here. Number 5, South Carolina State. Their first matchup is a big one. They're on the road to Alabama A&M, which is a top 5 program. Whether you're talking about Dr. Cavil's ranking or the bigger one with the media, HBCU Pro Sports Media, they have that as a top 5 matchup. But you're talking about a great opening game in terms of your home crowd. Man, that's exciting. And as you know, in the spring, South Carolina State finished 3-1, 69 points, bringing us to number 4. The Braves, the Alcorn State Braves, out of the SWAC, are in at number 4. They jump off this weekend as we gave you some indication, so we get an early indication versus North Carolina Central out of the MEAC. At number 3, FAMU, as a SWAC member, is up in here, and they have Jackson State in terms of that. They have 106 points, 1 first place vote. I don't think Charles believes in FAMU, but we'll get to see it play out on the field, and we'll give him a chance to give his thoughts. Number 2, surprising the some, not many. While they have more first place votes, they didn't get total enough points to be number 1. They played South Carolina State, as I said. They hosted. They were 5-0 in winning the SWAC and the Black College National Championship this spring. 121 points, 7 first place votes. At number 1 with 102 points, debuting in the Big South is North Carolina A&T. They are away on September 4th that they play Furman University. 6 first place votes for 120 points. Starting with you, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 5 programs? Jackson State is top 10. They are number 8. So you do get a top 10 matchup that opening week 1, as everybody would say, down in Miami. That is a top 10 matchup according to HBCU Pro Sports Media. They finished the spring 4-3. So it's fascinating there. Just to give you some of those teams in the top 10, if you would. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 5?
Was that Grambling in the top 10?
Yeah, they had number 9.
Oh. Whoa! All right.
0-4 in the spring. They have them in the top
Grambling was in the top 10. Really?
Yeah. Oh well. Okay.
Yeah. They didn't.
All right.
People don't believe in Prairie View. People don't believe in Norfolk State.
Prairie View was not there. Norfolk State wasn't there.
And you know what?
Some vote, but not enough to get in the top 10. Charles, what do you think?
Apparently, UAPB ain't good enough to be in the top 5.
UAPB is not in the top 5.
They are the Rodney Dangerfield of the SWAC West. Gee whiz.
Man.
They can't get no love. Well, you know, everybody believes in FAM. And you know, I see this FAM there at number 3. They're breaking in a new quarterback. Their leading rusher coming back, Bishop Bonnet. I think he only rushed for 400 some odd yards, but okay. FAMU at number 3. So, but I agree with A&M, Alabama A&M, and A&T 1 and 2. Alcorn at number 4. I haven't seen Alcorn in a couple years now, and they are breaking in 4 new offensive linemen. But they can be explosive, but you got to protect Felix Harper.
That's a great point. You talk about the offensive line play, and people don't realize that. You know, yeah, you got Felix Harper, and he is dangerous in multiple ways, but he is not the same type of player as Felix Harper. He is a great athlete. 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 player that if those offensive linemen are not busting and putting in holes so they can run the ball, you know, he becomes a little different type of player. So it'll be fascinating to see how that looks. Before I go to Mike, if you talk about Pine Bluff and you want to push them in the top 5, who are you pulling out? Sounds like FAMU, but is that the case? Talking to you, Charles.
Oh, yeah.
Before I go to Mike.
I would probably move either FAMU or Alcorn out of that 3-4 slot because, like I said, I think Alcorn, as explosive as we saw them in 2019, I think they have some pieces and they have some questions along the offensive line. FAMU, kind of the same thing. I mean, when you're breaking in a new starting quarterback, and although he does have game experience, but essentially it was Ryan Stanley's Florida A&M offense when we last saw him. So I have questions with regards to how explosive Florida A&M actually is.
Brother Brian Gauthier wants to let you know that FAMU's quarterback that you're talking about beat A&T.
He did.
19.
He did.
And he did remind you that he feels they okay at the quarterback position. So, Mike, what are your thoughts?
Great point.
5?
Yeah, can I ask that we put the top 5 up again? Yeah, thank you very much. South Carolina State. I think you could take them out of the top 5 and put a UAPB at least at 5.
Yeah.
They lost by an order of magnitude against Alabama. It wasn't a close loss. It was 32-7. And I don't care what you say about the first quarter and who was competitive. They lost 32-7 against Alabama A&M. So I think you could take South Carolina State out. They will be competitive. They will be one of the top teams in the MEAC. But I think the West has proven to be stronger. And I think UAPB has enough of their offense and their defense to at least warrant that number 5 preseason ranking. So North Carolina A&T, moving to the Big South. They've got Monmouth and I forget who else. Monmouth has won that division the last 2 or 3 years. They're going to play them. We know A&T will win the band halftime. But I will be interested to see how A&T fares in the Big South. Hampton has gotten no better than 5 in that division, and I'll be interested to see. And if they are, let's say, 5 or in the middle of the pack, do we still keep North Carolina A&T at the top? Now they do still play a couple of MEAC schools. North Carolina Central, I think South Carolina State. But do we still keep them there if they're in the middle of the pack in the Big South? I do have that question. They're not in an HBCU conference, so how do we rank them amongst other HBCU schools?
Great comments, very intriguing. Everybody's chopping it up out here, talking about grabbing or grambling. People are having fun on Gremlins. Or it'll be interesting to see how much are they able to bounce back. I know they'll bounce back, but to what degree is going to be interesting.
We'll put Gremlin at the top there.
I don't know, Mike. I just don't know. But the thing about it was several voters. You can't just have one vote to make it up there. So it's several folks that are thinking a lot about Grambling, questions at the quarterback position, a lot of changes. So it'll be interesting. Questions on the offensive line play. Now, I know this is a major brand, and they are able to fix things, but can they do it this fast? And they have a heck of a front half of that part of their schedule. And so they got to find a way to navigate that and get the pieces together.
Where was Southern and Prairie View in that poll? Because Grambling has
Southern is 7. Prairie View is not ranked. That's what I tell you.
Yeah.
Prairie View is receiving votes.
Yep. Woo, Grambling made use of that East Coast bias on them.
Yes, they did. that East Coast bias. We don't know anybody else. We gonna vote for Grambling.
So stick with us on Tuesday. We'll come back for more. We're going to talk about the TV broadcast. We'll talk about CIAA as they release theirs. We'll talk about the fact that you'll have a record-setting number of HBCU games, over 125 plus games already listed for the season. It's my understanding there's more to come. So that's going to be fascinating. Then I want you to do some homework. We're going to ask you, what are your top 10 HBCU games that are your must-watch games for the season. This is early. I know things will change as you play a couple of games. You get in the mid part of the season as we do our midterm grades, and then obviously towards the end, things will change. But right now, if you had to put your pulse on it, whether it's based on the HBCU Pro Sports Media top 10 poll rankings, mid-major, major division, include all of them, or if it's Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab poll rankings, let us know what are your top 10 must-watch games this season. We'll tell you ours. Stick with us next Tuesday. So thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed our guest, Mr. John Grant, Executive Director of the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge, SWAC MEAC Challenge, if you would, for some people out there, or the Cricket Celebration Bowl. Starts in Atlanta, ends in Atlanta. Should be fascinating with everything going on there. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday, Thursday, and we come back on Sunday as we will start bringing that. We'll break down what took place on Saturday. So check us out as we prepare to give you Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays. You'll get everything you need to know. Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. On Sundays at 9 o'clock a.m. Get up with us so we can give you all that you need on the HBCU sports culture. That is the sporting HBCU dash. We look forward to seeing you next week as we discuss the latest in the news. Let's follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DKENYATTA CAVIL. That's on Twitter. Also on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter. Facebook is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube and Facebook. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Horse.
Mike.
Lecture.
Dismiss.